Zum einen verfolgen wir damit das Ziel, dass das Geld, das wir in IT investieren,
Our goal is to ensure that we invest in IT as strategically as possible. This is essential for business IT alignment. In the areas we've decided to invest in, we want to make sure that we are doing the right things.
ausgeben, dass wir das Richtige tun.
By this I mean not only implementing new functionality to develop new markets or business areas, but also, of course, making investments in the existing infrastructure to keep it alive and up to date, in the same way you maintain and modernize a house.
Ähnlich wie Sie das bei einem Haus auch machen würden. Also das Erste, was wir gemacht haben, die Komplexität zu managen, ist,
To manage the complexity, we first split the landscape into blocks, which we consider as domains. In doing so, we created a domain model, which is a functional division of our bank. Secondly, we assigned each application to a domain.
zu der sie gehören.
Processes and governance also help to manage the domains. Finally, this resulted in a number of applications that is easy to oversee, as our total portfolio contains more than 3,000 applications, which would certainly be too much for a single person to oversee. So we divided the bank into 20 domains, which makes it manageable for my team and our colleagues in other business units.
Für mein Team und die Kollegen draußen in der Linie. Die zweite Dimension ist
The second dimension is the technology, for which we also decided to use a domain model. Of course, this is not a functional division of the technology, but a division along the lines of technologies, such as servers and databases and so forth. In this way, we not only have the feeling we are managing the complexity, but that we're really coming to grips with it and overcoming it.
dass wir die Sache so mehr oder weniger im Griff haben. Man braucht ein Tool,
As well as a good methodology, you need a tool to manage the complexity. We decided on Planning IT, which is a tremendous support for us. Without a tool, you'd be lost. A central repository is absolutely essential. 2 years ago, we started to implement such a repository, and together with the model, the tool, the processes, the governance, and the people, we now have it under control.
gut im Griff, ja. Unsere ersten
Driven by the IT-related Y2K issues, we started out at the end of the last decade by creating an inventory containing all IT artifacts we had. We wanted to understand what was going to be impacted by the Y2K problem. This was the spark for further development, and our appetite to do more grew. Today, we've matured in our approach to strategic IT planning and consider this as a very holistic way to manage applications and technologies.
Technologie an. Das
It consists of managing the life cycles of applications, the life cycles of the underlying technologies, then managing the interfaces so that with Planning IT we get a really holistic view of our applications and technologies.
Gesicht auf die Applikation.
It also throws up answers to questions like, if a technology reaches its end of life and must be replaced, who's affected? Today we're able to find these answers very quickly so that we can plan with greater predictability how our application landscape evolves over time.
Verändert über die Zeit. Hier wieder spielt das Domänenmodell eine ganz entscheidende Rolle.
The domain model is not only relevant for enterprise architecture management, as I mentioned, but it's also an important aspect of service-oriented architecture. When applications communicate with one another, it is important that this is realized by means of managed interfaces. When you have point-to-point connections that are directly based on data structures of an application, then any changes made to this data structure will have a direct impact on all associated applications.
Und das Domänenmodell hilft uns auch ganz klar zu definieren,
We implemented managed interfaces at a very early point in time. We distinguish between public and private interfaces, and the domain model helps us to clearly define where to implement private and where to implement public services. It also helps us to draw clear lines between the applications. Initially, we started with Corba services to open our large mainframe. This has been a very successful strategy that helped us and our mainframe to survive the past decade, although many people back then were already talking about the end of the mainframe. Now we're entering the next phase, in which we start partitioning the mainframe to be able to replace applications faster than before.
schneller abzulösen, als wir das in der Vergangenheit konnten. Ganz klar, oder? Und auch hier wieder
Definitely, our logical interfaces are managed in Planning IT, and then the information is transferred to our interface management system. Again, this is where we really see our physical interfaces, which enable the interplay between the enterprise architecture and the service-oriented architecture.
Und serviceorientierte Architektur.
Planning IT's methodology is ideally suited for our approach to technology portfolio management, lifecycle management, and for the domain model. Planning IT methodology perfectly matches our requirements, and as a result, we implemented it right out of the box without any problems. We first implemented Planning IT in Switzerland before we went global with it. Now the tool is used by stakeholders across Credit Suisse's global organization, dealing with 3,000 applications, including 3,000 technical components and their relations to each other. We couldn't have hoped for a better fit to our needs. Yes, next year we intend to pilot the whole area of business IT alignment and business capabilities that can be captured in Planning IT. Why? Because we want to better understand the direction in which we're heading. We also want to learn more about further aspects that made us decide on Planning IT, such as some of the more powerful planning-related aspects, which we haven't started using yet. For example, how to create master plan maps, how to establish roadmaps, and how to converge an application landscape.
The
decisive point for Planning IT was definitely its holistic approach to IT planning and management. It covers governance issues, process-related issues, and provides a very good model for dealing with roles and stakeholders. Frankly, its functionality includes everything we had before in our in-house systems. Of course, we knew that developing an application portfolio is not really a strategic task for a bank, and what we wanted to have was a standardized vendor product. So we compared different products and decided on Planning IT for its holistic approach. Another decisive point for Planning IT was the potential it could unlock in master plans and real business IT alignments. We'd always intended doing these things, but were not able to put them into practice with our own in-house tools. Planning IT changed this. On top of that, one of our subsidiaries had already implemented Planning IT with great success.